Everybody remembers their first wave, whether it be in the ocean, their first break in business, or their first big win. I'm David McClymont, a former competitive surfer now turned C-suite executive leading the Palm Beach Symphony into its 48th season and your host on the Waves of Success podcast.
This show is brought to you by IYC Yachts, Chervaux, and Square Grouper. Produced by MediaZone.
Hey everybody, I am David McClymont, your host of Waves of Success. And I am so excited to have a special guest with us today, Stefanos Makrymichalos, who is the CEO of IYC. Stefanos, what a pleasure to have you.
David, thank you very much for inviting me. And I wish you great success with this series. I'm sure they will be very successful. I know that my family is definitely going to be watching as well as the rest of the company.
Well, terrific. So what I'd love to do is over the next 20 or 30 minutes, just share with you a little bit more about your background, to learn more about how you rose to the level of CEO of IYC, talk maybe a little bit about personal life, about life balance, and then some leadership principles. So
of course,
share with the listeners how you got to become CEO of IYC.
Well, it is a bit of a long story. The company has been around for a little bit over 15 years now. And it started as a very ambitious project back in 2005. I was working in the insurance industry back then, and I was getting a bit tired of doing the same thing over and over again for a number of years. I love the insurance business; it's a very, very interesting and attractive sector. But I needed a change. So I did a bit of analysis of what options I had at the time, and it was evident that the yachting sector was upcoming. It was very fastly growing in the East Med, but it was lacking the sort of level of service that high-end clients, like owners of yachts, demanded. And it started by looking into this and a bunch of friends getting together, like new startup begin, coming up with a concept, a business plan, which we are still developing to the day. And the business then just took off. We started the company started in Switzerland. We moved to Greece a few years later. And as the company grew, so my involvement grew within the company. So me becoming the CEO of this operation was sort of organic. It just evolved into that. I was a partner with the rest equal among others. And today that sort of became my role. Which what does it mean to be a CEO? I mean, I'm not. I don't know the textbook meaning of that. So it's. I'm just wearing a lot of hats, playing a lot of different roles within the company, and helping this company develop and evolve.
So you said a couple of things that I think are really interesting. One of which was you talked about the fact of needing to pivot. So if I think about being the CEO and leading the Palm Beach Symphony into its 48th season, there have been many things we've had to do in terms of pivoting. So there was obviously a decision you had to make at that time that you were going from the insurance side and pivoting into. But the other thing that you said that I think is also very interesting is what I call the differentiating value proposition, which is what separates us, right? So you talked about customer service. It's very fascinating that at that time, customer service was not a top tier quality among other chartering and yacht companies. Then talk about a little bit about how you were able to establish yourselves with that value proposition.
Right. The industry at the time was mainly focused in selling yachts, not so much servicing the owner of the yacht after the acquisition was made. It was a concept widely spread in the West Med and other countries, especially here in the US. But in the East Med, that wasn't really a thing. So there was no real competition, and the market was too small for other companies to really look at this sector seriously. So it gave us it gave us an opportunity, and we just applied principles which are common in other industries. and gave those clients, those owners of yachts, the service that they needed, and really that's what sort of gave a substance in the region. But yes, you need to be sort of flexible and be able to adjust and make sure that you meet the requirements of your customer and meet them well. And I think that's where we excelled, is really paying attention, giving our customers exactly what they want, making sure that their expectations are met and not just met but surpassed.
So it's interesting. I spent 15 years, as you know, managing a private Jack Nicklaus country club, Bear Lakes Country Club. And one of the things that we always tried to do was exceed the expectations of our members. And now here I am at the Symphony, and it's the same thing. So it's very transferable. Talk a little bit more about how you were able to branch out, because the more I've gotten to know you, I think it's really interesting what you've done in that industry to bring everything under one umbrella.
Yes. Well, it's clear that an owner of a yacht, again, it requires all sorts of services. It's not just enjoying your asset. These yachts are very complex assets. They can be anywhere at any given time. They employ a number of people. They're complex machines. And an owner who acquires such an asset wants to make sure that he enjoys that. It's eliminating the problems and just leaving the what's essential for him, which is having a good time on board his yacht. So there has to be a mechanism behind him that actually supports that and makes it happen, makes it possible. So first of all, you need to have a horizontal operation. Which means that you need to have all these different departments, not just selling the boat, but it's also, once the transaction is completed, is who's going to be taking care of it from a technical or operational point of view. If the yacht is then put on the market for charter, who is going to be dealing with this, with the issue of making sure that the availability, in other words, when the owner is not using the vessel, how this is then being charted, how is it being managed. And finally is the other elements that has to do with crewing, with insurance. God forbid there is a claim, who's managing that. So a company that is that integrates all those solutions is the ideal partner for an owner, and that's what gave IYC substance. Now, horizontal integration is not enough. You also need vertical expansion. So, in other words, yachts again can be now in trading in or cruising in the Caribbean or the Bahamas or in the Florida Keys or maybe New England. But in a few months, like when the summer season starts, they're probably in Europe. They're cruising in Spain or France or Greece or Croatia. So you need to have the ability to protect or cover the interests of your principal in all these locations. So IYC is quite international. We have offices in 11 different countries. There are about 14 offices globally so far, and we keep on expanding our operation in other locations as well. And these offices were established out of the need to be close to our clients, make sure that we have the right people, qualified, trained and experienced people that will address any need that our owner has.
So I'm interested, one of the terms that I always like to try to live by, both personally and professionally, is you use the windshield in direct proportion to the rearview mirror. And what that basically means is that obviously we have to spend time reflecting, right, in business and in life, but then also you should spend a commensurate proportionate amount of time looking through the windshield onto new horizons. So let's talk a little bit about how you have navigated, literally, the rough seas of the past 2 years of COVID, what that's meant for your industry. Have you pivoted through that time, and what the next 2 years look like on the horizon?
That's actually very interesting. And I know that COVID has been a challenge for most businesses. It certainly was for ours as well. But I have to say that the the COVID situation was favorable for our industry. Yachts are a safe haven. It gave an out to a lot of people who were locked in place. They didn't really have that many options of what to do with their how to spend their free time or the holidays. Let's not forget that most high-end resorts end up shutting down out of concern or because they were forced to. And that never applied to yachting. So maybe some of the favorable or destinations, like the Bahamas, definitely was one of them that suffered a bit. But there were other options. So people found an out on yachting. These are, let's not forget, there might be yachts that are being chartered. So you could consider them as businesses, but they're not really. They're the private homes of individuals who really take very, very good care of them. They make sure that their crew is treated mostly like family, very professional, high-end people who are very well taken care of. And these never stopped operating. So it gave us the ability to continue trading while other businesses suffered a bit or a lot. And even after the things started normalizing a little bit, we're still not out of the woods, as you know very well, but things are definitely looking up. This is an industry that never stopped, unlike, again, a lot of the hotels or resorts that have suffered, had to let people go or furloughed. And there were a lot of people that a lot of their staff changed industries. In yachting, that didn't really happen. So the professionals in that industry remained employed. So there was no change really of how they operated, always operating at a very high standard. A lot of the resorts are getting back now. So they have to go through the issues of retraining their people and making sure that they are in a position to provide high-end service, which it's been a bit problematic. I've experienced this. I'm sure others have. Maybe you have as well, where we've gone back to a hotel that we liked and we loved the place and that we enjoy taking our families and being with our friends. And it's different. It's not there yet. That never happened in yachting. So COVID, making a long story short, what has been favorable to us. The industry didn't stop at all. As a matter of fact, 2020 was a very good year. 2021 was a phenomenal year. Now, going forward to 2022, I think that this is there are definitely the signs there that it will continue. But I have to say that I'm very bullish moving forward. I think that 2021 was a very good year. As I said, 2022, I think it's going to be an equally good year. There are some clouds in the horizon that we need to be aware of, but I wouldn't say that they're necessarily causing concerns. We still see our clients being very interested in ownership. They're looking for good opportunities to purchase a yacht, and there are some very good opportunities out there. Definitely, charter is booming. We have already seen many of our yachts, especially in Greece and Croatia, they're already fully booked. There's still obviously availability, but there's an interest in these destinations. So yes, I think 2022 is going to be a very good year. Projecting or predicting rather what's beyond 2022, I think it would be risky making any assessments right now.
Share with our audience the diversity of IYC, right? Because I think for me, the more that I've gotten to know you and to know the business model, it's very fascinating that IYC is pretty approachable in terms of when I first thought of it, I thought, well, I have to have $20 or $30 million to go buy a yacht, but that's not the case, is it? If I want to go charter a boat right now out of Palm Beach, I can call IYC and I can charter a boat.
Absolutely.
whether it be for a special occasion. Talk a little bit more and share with the audience a little bit more about that aspect of IYC, that it does include the chartering aspect, and it isn't just chartering the big yachts in the middle of the Mediterranean.
Yes, this is a very good point that you're bringing up, David, and I'm glad that you are sharing this with the audience today, because there is this conception that yachting is for the ultra rich. And definitely the companies that will focus on that segment of the market, but we have a much wider range of clients. It's not for everyone, of course, but it's definitely a lot more inclusive than people might think. We have, for example, yachts in the Med that they could charter for 25,000-30,000 a week, plus expenses, and then we have yachts that could be chartering to $1 million plus a week, if we're talking about charter in particular. So there's definitely a starting point, which is a low entry point. The service obviously is not the same on the very large yachts versus those smaller size, but still is very high end. And very personable, and people just have an amazing time. And once you've done it, it's very difficult to not to want to do it again. I don't think that we had any clients that had a bad experience. You always get into a situation where things might not turn out perfect, but at the end of the day, overall, the experience is incredible. So clients keep on coming back to this once they've experienced it. We had a very interesting story that I'd like to share with you. We, my business partner from Croatia, flew in. I think it was in October, if I'm not mistaken, to visit a client of his in Texas. And while he was on his way over, he says, "Well, Stefanos, I'd like for you to join me. This client has now arranged a dinner with some of his friends, and I'd like for you to come and meet him and meet with them." So these friends end up being 16 friends of his, which were also clients of his. And he wanted to share his experience, his first-time experience on board one of our yachts in Croatia. It was he had just turned 50, and he had arranged this cruise for him and his family, his lovely wife and children. And he wanted to share with all his friends what an amazing experience he had. And that was the first time that he ever done that. So I found it extremely flattering, and it was also an amazing experience to share with others as well. And it was a small yacht. It was one of the smaller yachts, which obviously could accommodate a family of 5. But it was nevertheless an incredible experience for him and his family, and it's definitely something that they want to repeat again in this coming year.
So I wanted to speak to you a little bit more about leadership and what you think the qualities of great leadership are. You said something early on in the podcast that I thought was very fascinating. You said, "What is a CEO?" So you and I are fellow CEOs. I'm also the Chief Executive Officer of Palm Beach Symphony, and you're absolutely right. What is CEO? You know, I've played janitor, I've played it all, and I'm sure you've worn many different hats. What defines a CEO? What is a CEO to you? And what are the qualities of great leadership?
Well, I think CEO or any other title in the company is comes with a job description and what have you. But it's difficult to really put a title in these positions, isn't it? I mean, it's a CEO is someone different for every company. I'm sure you're a different CEO for the Symphony than I am for IYC. And what I mean by that is that there is no cut and paste sort of job description. It's something. It's a position of responsibility. Let's call it like that. And it doesn't mean because you're a CEO you are above everyone else. It means that you have a lot more responsibilities than some of the other people, and your number one responsibility is towards the people you employ, and obviously your shareholders as well. So what you need to do is, as a CEO, to be successful and make sure that your people, your team is taken care of, your clients are being they receive the best product service that your company is offering is also your responsibility, but also making sure that this the organization that you are the custodian of is actually doing well, has longevity and continuity. So, what means being a CEO? Well, I think that, it's again, for me, it's an abstract term. You have to have certain capabilities, and I think that definitely one of your qualities needs to be your ability to quickly process things in your head and make decisions, which hopefully more of them will be on the right side versus the wrong side, and have the ability to foresee what the future is shaping to be. So I think that it's for me it's I would say it's a position of responsibility, and again you need to be taking care of the people that you've been entrusted with. Again, these people are your customers, your employees, and your partners or shareholders.
You and I have talked about that quite a bit, and I love to read. And one of my many favorite books is Good to Great by Jim Collins. And you and I have talked about that book and talked about that if you want to start any company, it's first who and then it's what. And I have always said that the most important asset on any balance sheet is never on the balance sheet. It's the human asset. It's the people.
Right.
So you bring up a very important point. You know that the original concept of starting Waves of Success was because I was a former competitive surfer and I wanted to parlay sort of the athletic aspect of the trials and tribulations of being an athlete and the ups and downs of being an athlete. And then also to parlay that into being a surfer and the ups and downs of being a surfer. You have good rides and you have bad rides. You have wipeouts and you have waves you remember. Talk to me about some of your waves of success and some of your wipeouts. So if you go back in the last 5 to 10 years as a leader, whether it be with IYC or anything else, what are some of the things that were your wipeouts and you reflect back going into that rearview mirror and look at and say, okay, I'm going to make sure I don't make that mistake again.
Well, first of all, I want to make a comment about the reference that you made to the books. And I know that you love to read, and I also want to thank you for sharing some of those books, your favorite ones, with me. I've started reading some of them, but I have a long way to catch up with all of them, and it's very much appreciated. It's actually a lot of what I've read so far is very inspiring. So thank you for that.
My pleasure. There'll be a quiz on Friday.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. So regarding what you said, well, look, I mean, it's. I guess it's in my nature not to remember the bad times, but to treat those as learnings and remember the fun times. So there've been obviously failures and maybe poor decisions, but that's to be expected when you no one that makes decisions doesn't make mistakes. I think that's unrealistic to make that assumption. But I wouldn't say that there've been any poor decisions in the last 10 years. As a matter of fact, I think there've been some mediocre decisions, but no decision made that I regretted. There've been some bad choices before I started IYC. I was soon after I returned from the UK. I lived there for about 4 years. I went back to Greece to serve in the Greek Navy, in which that was a couple of more years there. And then I started my own business, and I was too young, too immature to do this. But I started the business. The business was doing well in the beginning. Then there were some poor choices that end up in disaster. But that was actually a great learning experience, because it taught me at a very early age what are the where things went wrong and what not to repeat in the future. So I've been, I wouldn't call myself conservative. I am definitely a dreamer. I like to think of that I'm capable of doing great things, and I'm not afraid of trying. Now, if along the way things don't turn out the way that I hope for, I think I have enough experience today, or even dating back 10 years ago, to correct correct the course and get the ship back on its on the right course. So it's you need to try. Like this position requires that you do take chances, and then you make the necessary corrections, because you're never going to get it 100% right.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think from my perspective, being a leader, I think you touched upon a couple of things that are really important. One is risk management, right? So it's sort of interesting as I sit here and I talk to you and I think about the business principles that make businesses successful. It's very similar to sailing, is it not?
Yeah.
You chart a course,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
You hope that the course and the coordinates are right, the bearing is right, but certain things come.
Absolutely.
Like storms that may change the bearing, and then you have to go back and manage risk and be visionary and look out the window, look out into the horizon. So it's sort of fascinating when you look at it from that perspective.
Yes.
Another thing I agree with you on is you have to fail forward.
Yes.
Right. And if there's anything that's more dangerous than failing forward, it's analysis paralysis.
Yeah,
right. And getting
true.
stuck into the data and looking at the data and not making a decision, not trying to get buy-in from your stakeholders, from your team, and not taking action.
Yeah, very
so
true.
You touched upon a couple of things I think from a business principle standpoint are really critical, which is risk management, vision, and not getting caught into analysis paralysis.
That's you're 100%. You're 100% right, and that's one of the things which I try to help my team along. Again, I think that being a CEO, and I've seen you do it, and I know that we share the same. We feel the same about this. Is you need to be mentoring your people. So it's a common mistake among people in where they're given the responsibility of making decisions to overthink what it is that they overthink those decisions. So that creates more problems than solves them. I'm not saying that just jumping blindly into the void and hope for the best, but on the other hand, you need to trust yourself. You need to trust your instincts, and I think that people have the capability of, provided, of course, they have the necessary experience and intellect to make decisions that are not that might be against the data, what the data predicts. So I mean, it's a common mistake that needs to be avoided, but that also requires the backing of the person at the top that will allow those people to actually take risks, make mistakes, and correct these mistakes as they go along.
Are you a big believer in empowerment?
Absolutely.
Because I know I am.
Yes.
And another great book is the Ritz-Carlton's The Gold Standard. And in the Ritz-Carlton book, they talk about that every single team member, I don't know if this is the case now, but every single team member within the Ritz-Carlton has the authority, regardless of position, to make a decision up to $2,000. And I always thought that was very fascinating when I've run different institutions, that obviously if you empower your team, you equip them with the tools to be able to make decisions on your behalf. So you're a big believer in empowerment? I
am, very much. Very much. Actually, it's something that I encourage everyone in our organization. Doesn't matter if they just started. It's they could be manning the front desk, or they're in one of the top positions in the company. Yes, I'm expecting them to make decisions, and I think the reason why it's because that has always been my nature as well when I started my career in business. But it's the only way that you actually take ownership is like if you don't allow them to make decisions, to empower your people, then they don't have ownership in your operation. They don't make that theirs. So it's somebody else's. And I don't want them to feel that they're there working for somebody else, but I want them to understand that they're working for themselves. They're working for their families, and they're working for their future. So I do want them to have ownership, and the only way that you can achieve that is by empowering your people to take risks, make decisions.
And I'm sure that's a part of why you've been so successful too, because then they become stakeholders.
Precisely.
And they're shareholders. Let's transition a little bit. Talk to me a little bit. Here we sit in Media Zone.
Yes.
In this recording studio, which is just on the outskirts of Palm Beach. We have coming up in March the Palm Beach Boat Show. So
That's
as a
right.
native of this area, that's a pretty big event that we all look forward to. Share with us a little bit more about that event in and of itself, but then more importantly, how IYC is a part of that each year.
Of course. No, it's Palm Beach is a very important event for us, and it's one of my favorite events. I would compare that with the boat show of the Monaco Boat Show. We always have a very strong presence during these shows, and people from all over Europe, from our European operations, will also attend. It's an opportunity to showcase the yachts that we have for sale or yachts that we have for charter, based here in the US, because our fleet is sort of spread out globally. But we do have a very substantial presence here. So it's an opportunity to come together with our clients and understand what it is that they're looking for, but also to show them what is out there that potentially could be of interest to them, whether it is owning or chartering. So this event, if I'm not mistaken, this year is taking place on the 25th of March. I think it's either 25th or 24th. And we've already started planning for it. It's going to be, this year I think it's going to be a pretty incredible event that I would very much encourage all your listeners to come and see what is being offered.
Stefanos, you've had the pleasure of traveling extensively. You've seen many interesting places throughout the world, some of which are very educational and diverse. What makes our market so unique sitting here in Palm Beach, and where does IYC fit into that marketplace?
Having a strong presence in Palm Beach is very important, and this is the reason why 3 years ago we established an office in this very location. We have offices in other parts of the world, London, Moscow, Monaco, but by far Palm Beach has the strongest representation of clients, and we want to be close to them. We want to make sure that they're getting the best possible service with people that can understand the community and can understand the needs. So getting the pulse of the market made it necessary for us to have an office here. Besides this, Palm Beach also has a very important shipyard and repair facilities, which is the Rybovich shipyard close by, where a lot of clients of ours who reside here keep their yachts. So being here was a very important strategic decision we made back then, and we haven't regretted it at all.
And that shipyard has grown tremendously. I remember as a child.
Yes.
Going to West Palm Beach and going by the old Rybovich, and it was just a small little yard where they made boats. And now here it's, I think, one of the top in the world, is it not? Or the top?
It is. It's actually an amazing facility. They've done an incredible job transforming that place from a basic yard for where you would get you would take your yacht for repairs, some minor repairs, to basically a lifestyle center. It has a fantastic restaurant, which I love going and meeting with our crew and clients and some of our brokers. No, they've done an incredible job. I think it was recently they did a very successful business transaction, if I'm not mistaken, with Rybovich, didn't they? The yacht was sold, wasn't it? Yeah, but it's an incredible place. It's an incredible place that has that really provides very high end services to their clients.
So as we close out the show, I have a final question. As a surfer, I'm always searching for the next best wave.
Yes.
Share with me what's on the horizon for you in terms of business strategy and where you're looking to ride your next best wave. What are some of the goals over the next 3 to 5 years for IYC and what you're looking to do to ride that wave?
Well, I think the I love the allegory between riding waves and I've seen some of your Instagram pictures and videos, and I have to say my hat goes out to you. You're pretty amazing. But I think we've been up until now, what we've been focusing on is creating. Increasing the value of the service that we are providing our clients, and obviously the strategy doesn't change. We need to continue expanding our operation. Right now, we're looking at the Southeast Asia as our next destination, as well as the Middle East, where IYC does not yet has a presence. We have clients from those regions, but we don't have a presence. Obviously, the US is always at front and center for us, and we are opening an office in California, which is will be operational in the next few months, and we're looking for other locations as well. One of them being Texas, for example. But it is it's about now what we're focusing on is improving our services and also integrating technology with in order to make those services more to elevate the level of that service. So we've IYC is slowly transforming into a technology enabled company, where we feel that that is really where the future is in this industry. We've been developing this team for over a year now, and we've also been developing a lot of applications which are intended for our, basically for the yachts that we are managing or doing the charter management for. So there are a few things that we are building. Some of them maybe I shouldn't be talking about right now because I would be revealing too much too soon. But yes, there's definitely areas of interest, both in continuing developing our business geographically, but also internal infrastructure that we are continuing to build.
Excellent. Stefanos, I want to thank you so very much for being a part of today's Waves of Success podcast. I wish you nothing but continued success, and I want to thank you.
Thank you, David. No, thank you very much for having me here today. It was a real pleasure, and gave me the opportunity to open up a little bit, and I'm sure that your future guests would also enjoy joining you and speaking with you. You're an incredible host.
My pleasure. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode of Waves of Success, don't forget to like, follow, and share. We'd like to thank our sponsors, IYC Yachts, Chervaux, Square Grouper, and the production team at Media Zone.